Good afternoon. Well, not quite afternoon yet. It's 11:23 in Izmir, Turkey, Turkish time. This is my monthly video in English. So it needs to be a whole monthly summary, but I will, of course, mostly mention what's going on at the moment. So since almost a month, the situation in the Iranian Strait has not changed. The battleships are keeping increasing in quantity and size, but there are no news of actual fighting or bombardment. There is a lot of negotiations going on in different countries. So the effects of this on gold and especially gold and silver are limited because not, the economies are waiting for some action, and then they will price the action. The real problem is the price manipulation that happened on the commodity exchange again last night when there was a huge increase in silver prices to $92 to an ounce. Suddenly there was a glitch, and so that's a technical problem. There was a glitch again. Somehow these glitches and heating of the computers always happen when the gold is reaching the top and it's getting closer to closing of the contracts for the banks. So basically, when the glitch was resolved, there was so many contracts that were handed over during that blackout time, and suddenly price came from $92 to $88, $87. Probably some of the banks closed their short positions. So nowadays everybody is losing confidence in this type of markets. Actually, we know that the Western COMEX market, COMEDX I call it, and the Shanghai and China markets were already separated. And there is a premium like $10 to $15 between silver prices, which is, as I said, $88. So the other one is about $102 with the premium. So the jewelers who are selling gold and silver in Turkey, especially in silver, there's a huge gap. You cannot find any silver for the price of COMEX. Nothing close, even with a small premium. It's impossible to find. The difference is about 20-30%. So similar situations in Asia, India, and other countries as well. As you know, China had a very long New Year celebration, and they came back from it, but they found another about 26 manipulators in the Chinese market as well. So they are banned from shorting. So we'll see where this settles down. Maybe in April, June, but the prices are definitely not stable at all. So what does a small saver or let's say investor do? When I mean small investor, household, retail investors, what do they do? So there is only one way to make a big profit. If you're a retail investor, not selling and buying continuously, just making a basket of goods and then stacking on top of them, stacking silver, stacking gold. If you cannot stack physically, although not recommended, you can stack digitally at the banks. In Turkey, there is zero income tax buying silver and gold from Turkish banks. There is only 1,000th of 2% buying tax for silver and gold, just like buying foreign currency. That's it. So you can open a bank account, but if you buy it as a mutual funds, that's different. They charge you right now 17.5% from your profit goes to government and taxes. If you buy physical, there is no tax, no VAT, nothing, but these premiums always exist. But if you're a long-term saver, it does not matter, uh, because the prices increase so much that small differences of what type of gold you buy, what type of silver you buy, are of no importance at all. Let me just give you the summary of how the gold prices behave. As this is a channel in English, I'd like to give you the prices of gold in Turkish lira and US dollar. In Turkish liras, 1 year gaining of the gold is 117%, and 1 year of silver is 248%. Now, changing it to US dollars, as US dollars is increasing at a controlled manner. How do I know it's at a controlled manner? Because it's way below the Turkish inflation rate. So 1 year increase in US dollar gold is 80.47%. 80. That's a huge increase. Like if you make a 8% per year, that's like a 10 years gain in gold made in just 1 year. And the same table, more drastic in silver, because the gain in silver is 189%, 189, almost 190% increase in silver prices with the current prices. Manipulated or blackout, all included prices, 190%. That means if you had $100,000 invested in silver a year ago, you now have 290,000 US dollars. If you had invested $100,000 in gold, you now have 180,000 US dollars. And in Turkey, as I said, the good thing is there is no tax on this, not like USA. In US, the gold and silver are taxed. In some of the European countries, they are taxed with VAT, depending on what type of silver you buy, this and that. But as I said, most of my viewers are from Turkey, although I make the video in English. The main purpose of making these videos in English is not to attract foreign people to watch my videos. The main purpose is to giving them a chance of practice on the known terms of commerce, business, or personal finance. As for personal finance, as you can see, I have two books. I have written two books, and this one here, I written in last year, and in 2024, it's got the best readers book, first written as a first book by someone. So it was chosen the best book. And right now, tomorrow is ending 2025. I have another book which is While You Sleep, Let Your Money Work for You. And this one is already leading the annual books and social life. I don't know, that's how they grouped it. So the situation is so social only, nothing to do with money and gold and silver, but helping people socially develop their conditions. So let's see what other news I have for you beside the Iranian and the Persian Gulf and gold and silver. The stock exchanges, the the big seven, magnificent seven, so they call in Nasdaq, they have not performed quite well. They have lost a lot of value. Last night, Nvidia shares, they show that they are making good money, but after the first increase hitting $200, it came back a little bit. So the situation, most people are expecting a big drop in Nasdaq, about like 10, 15, 20% at one point, and some people are waiting to enter that market. Although the US stocks are still selling good overseas, not like the treasuries, they are still, Americans are buying less US treasuries and less US equities compared to foreign people. So it's purchasing, although increasing US in nominal terms, it's decreasing actually. The worst situation of the gold and silver and all commodities increasing is due to non-acceptability of investing in US treasuries, because the loan of the USA has increased so much, almost close to 39 trillion US dollars. Just this is just the government debt, not the state and other debts such as social security. Those are, if they are included, it's about 200 trillion US dollars. So this is increasing by $1 trillion government debt every 3 months. And knowing that up until last 5 years, the total money printed in US was $4 trillion. Now they are increasing $4 trillion per year. So you can guess and imagine the amount of inflation that's gathering behind the value loss of the government's, let's say, trust to government bonds. So everybody, and this started by China selling them. Also, when U.S. started applying pressures to Russia by, let's say, holding their gold holdings, and let's, in a way, there are terms, but like keeping them, not giving them back. So this way, the countries lost their confidence in putting their money in U.S. dollar assets, because they know it can be held suddenly by the U.S. government. So they want to hold gold instead. So right now, the government's reserves increased and passed the amount of U.S. dollar government bonds in gold. So gold is now the highest kept reserve by the world countries, not the U.S. dollar anymore. So these are the points I want to talk about in the stock market, Nasdaq, S&P, gold. I don't want to compare gold, silver, S&P. We know that almost for 20 years, gold has been doing much better in that sense. But my investment strategy is not just buying gold and silver and just talking about gold and silver. I follow up the trends, and based on trends, I add and subtract from my basket of goods the amount of gold, silver. However, I keep much more gold than suggested by the investment companies in US. They suggest 10%, 15% is good, although in reality they only have 3% of gold in their baskets. I have about 30, 40% of gold, uh, excluding buildings, land, real estate, excluding real estate. I'm talking about assets that are flexible. Silver, I have only about less than half of the gold I have. I have silver, because silver is very volatile. You can make from $88. I expect it to go to $120 easily. I don't know, before the end of the year, let's say. For gold, my expectation is I'm already close to my expectation. It was 5,222, just to keep it, remember it. But based on the bank's guesses, let's say, different banks like Societe Generale, JP Morgan, and all others, it's around 6,000. So I'll say their guess is 6,222 US dollars an ounce. For silver, there aren't so many guesses because it's hard to guess, but I expect somewhere to finish it somewhere between 120 to $150. The real reason for the silver's increase, of course, its usage in industry exploded with the AI centers, data centers. It's used in all electronics as it's the best conductor. But the problem is that since last 3-4 years, there is less silver produced, let's say, from the mines or from the other metals, because there are pure silver companies, pure silver mines are only about 30% of the total silver. The remaining 70% of the silver is extracted from manufacture or mining of copper, nickel, uh, silver, gold. I mean, gold and other metals. So it's a side product. It's not the main product. So therefore, if you want to produce more silver, you have to produce more of everything, which is a problem. So therefore, let's say the the supply problem in silver is a huge problem. And that's why the price can go anywhere from 120 to 150 because it's an essential product. If you don't have silver, you cannot produce the electronic devices, the robots, electric cars, the batteries, everything. So it's an essential product. They need to find it. They need to find it and use it and price it accordingly because it's not a choice type of purchase. It's a must type of purchase. That's why, but still, knowing that it can go up maybe another 100%, I do not invest totally in one item because that's a mistake. Gold, okay, it's a reserve item for even all the central banks. How much wrong you can go buying what the central banks are keeping as a reserve, but silver is like a bet, so you have to be careful and not to be attracted in stacking too much on one side. But we have to talk about the reason why it has so much potential to increase. There are other discussions about copper also, as copper will be the following device. Copper is also uh, replaced by aluminum for like power lines and production. But although they will also be increased in huge amounts, right now the copper stocks in the U.S. and China are at better levels compared to silver stocks. So let me see if there's anything else I'd like to mention because I mentioned about gold, silver, oil, petroleum. It's a dilemma because if the Strait of Hormuz closes and if there's a real actual big war between USA and Iran and Israel and this and that, and if it gets lengthy, the Strait of Hormuz supplies about 30% of the oil to the world. So we know that oil prices can go up from $65 to 110, $120 as well. So we are just watching this, but we cannot have the same money in two, three different places at the same time. So my style for small investors or retail investors or families is I keep gold, silver, keep stacking all these items. Also, I invest in Turkish stock market in a very small quantity because it's very cheap compared to all other countries, as it hasn't increased for the last 3 years almost. Something material increase. The index is very low, and also because the U.S. dollar is priced at 43 TL, which is assumably maybe 50, maybe 60 TL. In US dollar terms, it's very expensive. It can suddenly come back to half the dollar price, the index. So I have a small investment. As I said, these are bets: the stock exchange, the silver purchases in my total portfolio. So I do not suggest to make any investment suggestions as written in the explanation of this video. I'm just looking at the things of my way of investing, long term, very long term, buying continuously, not buying when low and not selling when high. Just keep stacking until when? Until when your ideal is achieved, which is you want to buy a house, you want to buy a summer house, You want to buy a brand new car, whatever. A brand new car is not an investment, but a house, a summer house, those are investments. So after that, I don't look back and say, oh, I wish I had kept my gold and not bought that house, because there is always a controversial argument, because then you can say, you wish you just kept silver instead of gold last year. See, now you lost half the money just being in gold. So this is an endless argument. But my point is, at worst, you now have another house, okay? And you can restart collecting gold and silver. And you can sleep easy, because house and other investment prices do not change overnight. They don't lose 20, 30, 50%. And as you know, in the US, Donald Trump just made a speech in the Congress, and he tried to keep the value of the housing very high. Well, this is a two-edged sword, because if you keep the house prices high, the people who own the houses are happy. But on the other hand, the age of the first house buying is around about 40 years of age in the USA. So you want to keep it expensive, then the house owners are happy. But the people who are going to buy the houses, they are not happy because they cannot buy it. So it's a dilemma again. Who will be happy in the end? But in an inflationary environment, all my Turkish videos are based on this. There is only one thing certain in investment: inflation is going to be continuous for ages. Reason being, as the governments cannot pay their loans by collecting taxes, they have only one solution: printing money, giving it to banks, banks dealing out a lot of loans, and more inflation coming in every year. So even if it gets down to government calculated 3%, which is 50% above the target in the USA, do not rely on that, because in the end, as we know, in the past, they brought down the inflation from 15% during Walker's time down to 0 and 2%. So why didn't they control it there? So it just keeps increasing again to 5, 6, 7%. It's going to increase again, because no way you can pay your debt by collecting taxes. 4 trillion US dollar taxes are collected in the USA during a year. And as you know, 3 trillion more is printed, and 1 trillion is just to pay the interest rate. So how are you going to make the other payments, social security, defense? It's already the amount paid for interest is now above American defense industry spending. So in basic, when I give my samples in America or USA, it doesn't change for any country. Only way governments make money or pay their debt is through printing, printing, printing. The more money they need, the more they print. Although they say we are fighting inflation, there is only one cause of inflation, as Milton Friedman says: governments who print, or they can just pass it to the central banks, governments, treasuries, whatever. They give papers and they get papers and they create a huge inflation. Only one line item can save you from inflation: things that are tangible, okay? Gold, silver, houses, land, okay? It has to be tangible. That's the best performing asset, and the best winner is the loan. If you get a personal loan at a good rate, and if you buy gold, silver, houses, whatever, then you make 2, 3, 4 times money with a cheap percentage loan on a saved. But you should never exceed your ability to pay limits. Then, because suddenly, if your interest rates change, consumer interest rates do not change in Turkey. So you have to be calculating, okay, I can pay this, even suddenly something happens, the market just tumbles, I'm okay, because I still have enough money. I still have enough gold, silver to cover my position. But the biggest winner, as I said, is not gold, not silver, not houses. Loans are the biggest winner in an inflationary environment. And you need only one person to ask. That's me, because we live in the highest inflation country for many, many years. After, I think maybe we are just a little better than Argentina. So we know inflation better than anyone else worldwide. Anyway, I like to say goodbye for the moment. This was the February video. I will make one in March, and let's see what happens in a month time to gold, silver, on other investments, wars, whatever. I hope you all make a huge amount of money with loans if possible, uh, and no suggestion. These are, as I said, I do not give investment advice, although I can. The reason I don't is the people who invest. You have to know their personalities. Like, I can take a risk, and I don't mind even a loss of 30%, because in the opposite, I just buy more, because if an item is 30% cheaper, I just buy more. But another person who loses 30% can get a pain in the neck, pain in the stomach. So that's why you never suggest anyone what to invest in before knowing their habits, their characters. Okay. See you again next month. Bye for now.